Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. I hope you're doing well, and if you're not, I hope you are soon. Okay, today on the Dungeon Dive, we will continue our coverage of League of Dungeoneers. And in this episode, we're going to talk all about quests. When I originally took a look at the prototype for League of Dungeoneers about a year and a half ago or so, I was a little unclear, a little confused about the overall structure of the game, the big picture, how the game's campaign is handled, how the quests are handled. I think that had to do with it being a prototype and maybe not seeing the complete picture. And that is a problem that I think a lot of preview coverage of games does suffer from. It's one of the reasons why I don't do a lot of preview coverage. I don't often find them very useful. And so I would encourage you, if you like watching a lot of preview coverage of board games in unfinished states or prototype states, just to take all of that really with a grain of salt. Because now that I have a much better understanding of League of Dungeoneers, of seeing the complete package, I know more about what the game is, and I'm very, very happy with the overall structure of the campaign and questing in League of Dungeoneers. I was afraid that Michael was leaning a little bit more towards a campaign style play. And while there are campaigns in League of Dungeoneers, it is not a campaign game like something like Oathsworn or Madara. This truly is a huge, wide open world game where you can go on many, many random quests. There are little kind of micro campaigns, which are a series of quests that you will go on to tell a complete story. But at the end of those campaigns, your character's arc does not stop. The overall thrust of the game is the kind of campaign that I enjoy the most, and that is a character survival campaign. A campaign of League of Dungeoneers is all about making your character stronger, making your character survive, getting more loot, getting more skills, getting more power, so they can continue to go on and do interesting things. So I put together a list of all of the quests that come in the All-In Kickstarter, and that includes the quests from the core book, the quests from Quest Book 2, and the quests from the small campaign expansion, The Dark Pyramid. As you can see, there are a ton of quests. So we have an introduction quest called First Blood, and this is a quest that you would probably want to play when you start a new party, kind of introducing them to the world. And then you have your first campaign. You don't have to start the game playing this first campaign, but it is a good idea, and that is called The Dead Rising. And that is a 6-quest campaign. So you could play that, and then after you are done with that, you can basically go and explore the entire world and do whatever you want to do. There are a number of other small campaigns. There is a larger campaign, but there are also a whole mess of random dungeons. So you have the Lair of the Spider Queen. That's a 3-level dungeon that is called a campaign. And then we have all of our objective room quests. There are 5 objective rooms. And between those 5 objective rooms, there are 5, 10, 13 quests. So those are random. You can roll on a table and go on any of those quests. Then we also have 6 side quests. And those side quests are very similar to the little side quests in Warhammer Quest, like the Jails side quest or the Flames of Kaza. These 6 quests you can roll up and you can layer on top of any other quest that you are already on. We also have 12 mini quests, and these are little things that you can kind of do to and from a quest that you are on. So again, little side quests. And then you also have a whole bunch of quests in Book 2. You have a small campaign called Cult of the Hydra. You have another small campaign where you are hunting down witches. You have the largest campaign is in Quest Book 2. and that's called the Halls of the Goblin King, and that has a whole bunch of quests associated with it. And then we have the Northern Tombs campaign, which has those quests associated with it. And then we have 19 random quests. About half of those, I think, were created by backers. And these random quests range from being very small and simple to being pretty ornate and involved. And then we have two sets of campaigns, two campaigns that take place in the southern lands, the ancient lands, the desert lands, and we have the Dead Rising campaign and the Dark Pyramid campaign. Now, you can undertake any of these quests at any time. The game will hopefully scale well to your party's power level. However, in order to go to the ancient lands, you do need, as far as the story goes, you do need to first do this Dead Rising campaign, because the end of that campaign is actually where you get brought into the guild, you get brought into the League of Dungeoneers. And as far as the story, as far as the overall narrative of the land goes, you need to be a member of the League before you can make your way to the southern part of the map. You could ignore that and just go ahead and do it. The southern part of the map is much more difficult. So you're going to be better off if you just wait and then move south after you've leveled up and gone through some other quests and campaigns. So even though, there are, I don't know, 50 or so quests dispersed between random quests, side quests, and campaigns. But even those have a lot of variety to them while you are playing. Because while you are playing, when you set up your quest, when you set up your dungeon, you will be setting up the dungeon using cards with random tiles. And a lot of the random tiles have random things that happen. There is a small list of random events that can be triggered in the dungeon. You might roll up different monsters. You could substitute, if the quest says that this quest revolves around undead, you could switch that and fight bandits or beasts if you wanted to. Nothing is preventing you from changing up the enemies or even creating your own monster tables. And there's also, in an upcoming expansion, Michael is greatly increasing the number of random events that happen in the dungeon. I think right now there are about 24. And this new expansion, I think, is going to add something like 52 new encounters, random encounters in the dungeon. So you could go on each one of these quests multiple times and have very different outcomes. And again, some of these quests are very straightforward. You will go in, you will find your objective room, you will kill a big bad and leave, and that's it. While some of them will offer up a little bit more involvement. So in the core book, at the end of the core book, we have our quest book 1. And quest book 1 starts, you have an introduction, and then you have your first blood. And this is your introductory quest. This is an outdoor quest, and it just gives you a little taste of the world, and it's kind of your new party's introduction into the world of League of Dungeoneers. And then we have our first campaign. And the campaign is pretty easy going. You start with a small dungeon. You just kind of work your way, dealing with undead, dealing with a necromancer and that kind of thing. Just trying to figure out why the dead are rising, what's going on. There is the quest at the end. There's 6A and 6B. And then we have Lair of the Spider Queen. Lair of the Spider Queen is a 3-level dungeon. It is called a campaign. I wish Michael maybe would have used different terminology. I think campaign is kind of a loaded term these days because of all the campaign games. These feel more like novellas. You know, if Madara and Oathsworn are your big epic fantasy novels, the campaigns in League of Dungeoneers are more like novellas, and the quests are more like short stories. So to me, the overall structure of League of Dungeoneers, I would compare more to a work of sword and sorcery fantasy and not a work of epic fantasy. Because again, the main goal is just letting your heroes survive. And then we get into our random quests, and these will be associated with the 5 objective rooms. I wish there was 6 objective rooms, so The 6 result wouldn't need to be rolled again. Maybe somebody will let's make a 6th objective room, guys. Like maybe that should be the first order of business for the community. Make a 6th objective room and come up with a handful of quests for that objective room, so that table is completely fleshed out. But again, these quests can also be played multiple times, and you can roll up, you might roll up different dungeon dwellers on this one. So stop the heretics. Well, you might face off, you have a 1 in 6 chance of facing off against the bandits or the orcs, the undead, the beasts, the dark elves, or the reptiles. So that's going to be different each time. You have special rules where you might face off against different demons. So you can play these quests multiple times and have different outcomes, different kinds of adventures in each quest. Some of the quests have other subtables that you will be rolling on. So there is variety within each quest for multiple playthroughs. And then we have our quest into the ancient lands. So this is to the south. So again, you need to join the League of Dungeoneers. You need to go through that first campaign before you can start going into these quests here. And this is kind of probably a smaller campaign. We could probably make the large pyramid objective rooms and associate those with a few random quests. That would be super, super easy to do. And then here we have our 6 side quests. And again, these are little things that you can overlay on a quest to add some more randomness, to add a layer of complexity to one of the other quests that you're already going on. So you have the missing brother, slay the beast, the map maker, go fetch, manhunt, and mushrooms. So those are all the quests in the core book. And then we also have here, we have quest book 2. There is also a somewhat hidden, an Easter egg quest in the core book that is part of a settlement. And it's really cool. I don't want to give anything away. I mean, it's not hidden in the book. It's not like a legacy or anything. But when you read through your book, you will find that you can do something in a settlement that will also trigger a quest. So I forgot to add that to my sheet. So then here we have our quest book 2. And we have all of our quests listed on the left-hand side here. And here we have a random table of all of the quests that can be, that you can roll up for a random quest. So we have a D10 and a D12. So we have 22 different random quests here. And then most of the quests at the beginning of quest book 2 are actually little campaigns. And one of them is a large campaign. But again, finishing one of these campaigns does not end your character's story. It's just part of their story. And here we have, so these quests here on this random table, you can go on these quests from any settlement on the map. There are some random quests that you have to start in Silver City. So here we have those. And then there are also some quests that have to start in the Outpost. And the Outpost is down south into the ancient lands. And so you have to be at that outpost to start any of these random quests. So we have all of our quests here. Witches campaign. This is a really neat campaign where you are hunting down witches and you have to roam the world trying to find something like 3 witches or something. It's pretty cool. You have different objective rooms there. Halls of the Goblin King. You can start this in any settlement. This was written by Martin Johnson. And this is probably the largest campaign in the entire game as of right now. It has its own encounter table, its own unique encounter table. It has special rules for when you are traveling. And then you have a first quest into the Hall of Turog. This is a multiple level dungeon. And then you go into the Dungeon of Gundaz the Defiler. You have part 1 and part 2. And then we go into the Temple of Dregril the Wizard. We meet a lone traveler. Then we go into the Cave of Clatch the Ogre. And this is another multi-level dungeon. Level 1, level 2. We have to return to the Outpost. And then we have the Dungeon of Quarthon Smalls. Then we go to the Black Tree Fortress. So yeah, that's a pretty long campaign. We have another little campaign here. This giant slayer, where a giant is actually kind of roaming the land. That's kind of cool. And then here we get into all of our backer quests. And these are all standalone quests, not part of a campaign. But some of them are definitely more complex than others. Some of them do have multiple parts, even though they are just standalone quests. So all kinds of cool stuff here. Again, some of them have their own tables, their own things that you can roll on. And then here we have those mini quests. And this is, you could roll up a D12. And any of these, I would say, could be used while you are traveling, while you are going from one place to the next. So very, very cool. Lots of variety in the quests as well. And then we have our Dark Pyramid. This is a small kind of mini campaign that takes place in the ancient lands down to the south. And this has a small number of various quests that you can go on there. So the way that quests are handled depends on where you are on the map. There are 10 different settlements, such as up here we have Freyfell, we have Irondale up there. The main city is Silver City, so Silver City has the most quests associated with it. Then we have Rochdale here, or Caulfell, Windfair. So we have a whole bunch of different settlements. And each settlement is associated with a certain color, and those colors have numbers associated to different areas on the map. And so when you're in Silver City here, you might roll D20, and Silver City is white. So if you roll a 16, then that quest would take place at this location here, white 16. If you were in Freyfell up here, Freyfell is purple. Freyfell is a smaller settlement, so that it would just be a D6. So if you rolled a 4 for your quest that you were starting in Freyfell, then that quest would take place right here. But this location is also associated with Black 2 and White 15. So some of the locations have multiple quests associated with them. It would also be very easy to make up your own quests. If you wanted to start in Silver City, you have a whole bunch of variety, a whole bunch of areas that you can go to. So you could start a quest. You could come up with a quest that takes place at location 28, some kind of tower, or maybe location 22, or some kind of burned out ruins of this mountain at location 21. Maybe these barrows here, or these mounds here, 18, maybe one of these leads to Under the Lake. I would like to see some of islands or something, water-based quests perhaps. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunity for expansions. There's a lot of opportunity for community-made quests. And I think this quest system is really cool. I think it would be very easy to create a kind of persistent world while you are playing. And like I said in my last video, what I'm going to do, one of the first things I'm going to work on is assigning those named mercenaries, such as, Brom the Mad, or Archibald the Red, or Stefan the Apprentice, or Wagget Neck Snapper, Three-Fingered Alley, Tao Terranhell, Doug the Feral. I'm going to assign these NPCs, these mercenaries that I can hire, to various settlements around the map. And those settlements are going to become their home, where they live. So Irondale, that sounds like a place that maybe some dwarves would live. Or maybe the dwarves would live over here in Durban, or up here in Bernheim or something. But anyways, let's say Desmond Raventide lives in, let's say he lives in Irondale here. So I would keep track of him. This is his home territory. If I wanted to hire Desmond, I could travel to the north and go to Irondale, and there is a greater chance that Desmond would be hanging out in a tavern in Irondale, and I could hire him. However, it's not guaranteed, because Desmond is out living his own life. He's a mercenary. He may not be hanging out in the tavern, but what I could do is I could roll a d6, and then there are 6 quest sites associated with Irondale. So if Desmond is not hanging out in his tavern, his favorite pub in Irondale. He might be found in one of the quest sites around Irondale. So then I could go on a quest to find Desmond. So maybe I go to this tower here, or up to this little oasis, or this little copse of trees there, or some kind of a pyramid looking thing there, or this great tower here, or this little crypt here. And I go through a random quest there, and I'm just trying to find Desmond. Maybe I find him and he's been wounded and he's trapped, or he's been taken prisoner by a necromancer, and I have to save him. And when I do, he decides to join my party for a couple of adventures for free as a thank you, or something like that. This game just lends itself well to creating those kinds of stories, those kinds of events, those kinds of scenarios and situations that we want in these kinds of games, and also layering some more of that solo RPG style play that a lot of us are moving into. I just look at this map, I look at these NPCs, I look at the dungeons, I look at the quests, I look at all of the things that are available in this game, and my imagination just starts running wild with all of the different possibilities. We even have a shire here where the halflings live. So also, I think all of the halfling NPCs will probably be here or somewhere around there. That is super cool. I just noticed that. But yeah, this is a really expansive game. And I think Michael did a very good job of creating the foundation upon which a lot of people are going to be building. So, all right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed taking a look at the quest system for League of Dungeoneers. We will talk to you later. Bye-bye.